Hi, I'm Paul with Boaters Exchange in Rockledge in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Today we're looking at the Everglades 395 center console. This is an all-new 2025 boat that we just got in stock. It's got a lot of neat features. We're going to check it out. First thing, we've got this killer front lounge with armrests that are both in the middle and on the sides. We've got a built-in cooler underneath. It's super comfortable. It's got really luxurious seating. You can actually fit, 2 adults and maybe a child in the middle, or maybe 3 teens or whatever. And then we've got killer front seating up here. The neat thing on these front seats is that the cushions are actually permanently affixed. And so we can put the covers on but not have to worry about taking cushions on and off all the time because they do have covers, and they've got a built-in backrest. It's very easy to use. So if you want forward seating, very simple to raise and lower these front seats. And just like that, they're back down. We've also got storage on the side on both port and starboard. And so lockable rod storage, which is always a plus, especially if you're taking your equipment or your boat to the Bahamas. Oh, by the way, there's a front table that telescopes electrically up and down. So super convenient for days when you just want to maybe cocktail cruise or have lunch on the front of the boat. There's also a forward Mediterranean bow shade for this whole front area. Very, very handy. Of course, windlass, which is standard on pretty much all of the larger Everglades boats. Some of the neat things that my family and I enjoy are the built-in grab handles that are right at the profile of the side of the boat, of the gunnel of the boat, so that you don't have a grab rail that's raised up higher that can get in the way of fishing. All of the rod holders are cup holder rod holder combos. So just in this front area alone, 10 cup holder rod holder combos, plus the cup holders on the on this lounger and rod holders on the side. It's just packed with amenities. And another thing that I like on the 395 Everglades is all of the storage. So not only do I have a fish box on the floor in the front of the boat, in addition to the one in the back, I've also got storage on the side, down the gunnel sides. So these are handy. You can put dock lines in here. They give you a little bit of netting so that you can put, different items behind that netting, but they're just trying to make use of all of that space that otherwise would go wasted. Coming on back, we've got more storage on the side, and this one even has another net and large enough for smaller fenders. Big heavy-duty pop-up cleats, something that Everglades is known for. Their boats are overbuilt, so heavy-duty pop-up cleats. Nice thing about pop-up cleats is that you can put them in the down position and less chance for snagging lines. Of course, fender holders that are removable, so these speed clips come in and out for holding fenders, and I believe there are a total of 6 on board, so you've got plenty of ability to dock the boat safely, or maybe doing a raft up. They're using the Gemlux outriggers, which are telescoping, carbon fiber, and they have the convenient handle to raise and lower the elevation of the outrigger. So everything is about functionality and convenience, but also very rugged. The Gemlux outriggers are super rugged. They're my personal favorite. I like to rig a mono. Coming back over here to the helm area, we'll check out the rather lavish helm. The helm area is the most exciting aspect of the boat. First of all, we've got a centerline helm, so 3 across seating with the captain sitting right in the middle. Super handy for good visibility and drivability. We've got 3 across Garmins. Those are 16-inch Garmins that are all networked and operate the boat digital switching system, or the boat management system. We'll talk about that in a minute. But other aspects of the helm that I like, this boat features the teak accent upgrade. We've also got the upgraded carbon fiber steering wheel by Edson with the built-in ball bearing power knob. We've got a cell phone charger station built in right into the dash. Everything is very well engineered. So I've got a hideaway digital switch augmented switches that I can fold away for convenience because I can do all my switching right through the Garmin's, but I do have fully redundant switches throughout here on the dash. And going a little further, this boat has the Yamaha Helmmaster EX control system. A lot to talk about there. Helmmaster EX is Yamaha's flagship engine and boat control system. So fly-by-wire throttles, fly-by-wire steering. We've got the joystick control system, and we have the Helmmaster EX autopilot that all are help the captain operate the boat with ease. The Helmmaster EX controls by Yamaha have some incredible features. One of them is that, first of all, I can have individual engine trim up or down. I can trim both motors up or down at once, but this button here is the one I love the most, which is speed control. So it's cruise control for the boat, and you can make finite 50 RPM increments up or down at any particular speed without fighting the throttles to make incremental speed adjustments or RPM adjustments. It's also got some other buttons here. If it's a dual station boat, I can change stations at the touch of a button. It has an engine lockout system, so with the key fob, I can immobilize the engines for security purposes. And the big one is that the Helmmaster EX controls are integrated between the autopilot, the digital electronic steering, and the joystick. And what I mean by that is, as an example, if I decide to turn on my autopilot by just going to heading hold, course hold, or track point, I can then make adjustments to my autopilot through the joystick. So if I want to make a 1 degree or a 5 degree change in heading, I can just do it right through the joystick control system. Another feature of Helmmaster EX, when you add the joystick, is you can have essentially what Mercury would call skyhook. Yamaha calls it stay point, drift point, and fish point. So a lot to talk about there, but at the touch of a button, I can hold the boat over a particular position. Let's say I'm fishing a wreck or a pile of rocks. I can hold the attitude of the boat, but let it drift. And a lot of other features there with the fish point, stay point, and drift point. A lot to talk about. Yamaha's done some good videos there. We've also got the zip wake trim tab system. These are blade trim tabs. You can put them in an auto setting, and it will hold the attitude of the boat front to back, or I should say, forward and aft, or port to starboard, based on preset your preset designations, or you can manually control them at the touch of this dial. Super intuitive. I love the zip wake system. So I mentioned it already, but the boat has digital switching, and what I mean by that is, instead of the old school rocker or push button switches to control all of the boat functions, everything is controlled through the Garmin's. So if I open up this magnetic screen cover, I can get into the digital switching for the boat. If I want to do things like turn on my helm light, I can just touch the button there, and it even shows me graphically that I've got my overhead hardtop helm lights on. Maybe I want my nav lights on. Once again, it's showing me that my anchor light and my nav lights are on. And it goes on and on, but some of the neat things is, if I switch over here to the lighting page, I can do things like, for my spreader lights, turn them on at 50% or 60% capacity. I can turn them all on or all on or off at the touch of a button. And it's super handy to have the ability to dim the spreader lights, so that maybe you don't want it full-blown blaring brightness when you're rigging the boat in the morning, early morning before daylight, and burning up batteries. So very handy to have this. Same with the windshield wiper, for instance. There's an intermittent ability to set your wiper to go intermittent at different levels. And it's all controlled through the Garmin digital switching system. A lot more to talk about there, but some people that say, hey, I don't necessarily want to go to my Garmin to turn different boat functions on and off, there's full redundancy with the switch pads that are included on the boat. So pretty neat. Another feature that I like is that the breakers are resettable right through the Garmin. So if you have a tripped breaker, I can go right to the screen and reset a breaker. Super handy. The Helm seats are killer. Everybody's got a flip-up bolster. Everybody has armrests that can raise or lower. They're also shock mitigating, which is an option. So for riding out in rough seas, these seats are shock absorbing. You can actually increase or decrease the pressure of the piston that provides that shock absorption. So super, super comfortable boat to ride in rough seas. And then one thing that my wife likes is this whole Helm area, not only do I have a Helm pad that's included, but there's also a pedestal that we can lower to make the Helm area higher. So for those that want to operate the boat that maybe are a little shorter, if my 14-year-old wants to drive the boat and can't quite see over the bow, we've got a really handy elevated Helm seat deck, and that's been a big hit. In the cockpit, we've got mezzanine seating, and this mezzanine seating, first of all, is air conditioned, and there's an air conditioned control right here for the occupants of the rear seats to control. There's 2 vents on the side and 2 vents in the back, so people can stay nice and chill. The other thing about the mezzanine seating is that there is a flip down footrest. So for people that want to have their feet not dangling but on a footrest, that can flip down. And underneath, we've got a cooler with a cold plate. Now, the thermostat for that cold plate allows this to operate as either a cooler or a freezer. So no more need to worry about going and finding ice, especially when you're in the Bahamas, when sometimes ice is hard to find. Hey, by the way, we've also got controls for the shade. So the rear cockpit shade just comes out at the touch of a button. And it's automatic, so all I do is touch the button once, and that rear cockpit shade comes out. Super handy. I can also control that through the digital switching mechanism at the helm. But instantly we've got shade. Coming back further, we've got very nice seats that flip out all the way. So just like that, I've got seats for probably 6 people in the back. But then also, just like that, I can fold the seats away, and for fishing, I have a built-in tow kick. Super functional, very well thought out. Everglades has done a great job of utilizing every space possible. So tons of tackle storage built into this boat on both sides. I've got tackle trays, I have drawers, I even have a little cutting board that's super handy. This actually just goes right over top of the sink. And more tackle storage over here with leader holders, lure holders, knife, pliers, all built in. And you've got that on both sides of the boat, or both sides of the lean bar. Of course, Everglades is known for their side utility door. So this side utility door is very, very robust and very watertight. It's a newer design for Everglades, but it's as simple as just closing that door and then closing the top lid. So it's a 2-step process. One of the neat things about that lid is that they've also included cup holders with the teak accent. Okay, and we've got the engine flush control system. Super handy. This is made by Reverso. All you do is connect the hose here, press the button, and it will flush the engines one at a time. Super handy. Everyone knows that Everglades is known for safety, and if you'll notice this scupper drain, instead of just having 1 or 2 2-inch drains, they actually have an entire manifold that runs about 1.5 feet long for superior draining. Super handy. This whole grate pops up and can be cleaned out easily. Coming over here, we've got the live well. So it is a pressurized live well system. Super handy. It's blue inside, it's got the clear top. It does help the bait fish stay alive just a little bit longer because of those features. Then we get into our fish box. So the primary fish box, don't forget there's another one up front, but this fish box has a built-in cold plate. I can turn it into chill mode or into freezer mode. So super convenient to have that cold plate. And then check this out. We've got a built-in cutting board. So I can just drop down a cutting board for bait prep. I've got holders for pliers and knife. This entire cutting board can be removed and put into a rod holder if you wish, but very nice that it's built in. And if you'll notice also the thickness of this fish box lid, it's because it's got built-in foam for insulation purposes. So a little bit about the fish box. Rod holders across the back, very handy, very good to have. And then we've got the grill. The grill is optional. A couple things to talk about on the grill is we've got a reflector plate here, so that helps it radiate the heat opposite of the fiberglass. There is an electrical disconnect, so if you accidentally leave the grill on and close the lid, you don't have to worry about it staying on. And somewhere there is a grill elevator so that the grill can be raised up for safety. So when you're using the grill, you'll actually raise it up in the upper position for good ventilation. It is electric. Some people might practice fillet and release and grill their fish right on board. The electromechanical design on this boat is superb. One of the neat features on this is that instead of one 50 amp shore power inlet, I actually have two 30 amps. So as a lot of people know, submariners don't carry 50 amp. So I have two 30 amp inlets. One controls the battery chargers and the 110 volt appliances and outlets, and the other one controls the HVAC. There are two HVAC units on board, one for the cabin and one for the helm and the mezzanine seating. And of course, we also have the cold plates, but the HVAC specifically runs off of 110 volt power. So you're either using shore power or the generator, which we'll talk about. So the shore power inlets are on the back of the boat, very convenient. There's, like I said, two of them. And then over here is our breaker controls. So I've got a resettable breaker for each of the two shore power inlets. And then I also have a manual on-off switch as well. Let's check out under the hood. So I've got a real nice bilge access. And first of all, we've got Seakeeper 3. And as a lot of you know, Seakeeper 3 is the largest 12 volt Seakeeper that is offered. So I don't need to have a generator to run that Seakeeper. It runs on battery power, which I prefer. Although I do have generator on board. It's a diesel Fisher Panda generator. It is situated aft in the bilge. There's plenty of access for maintenance purposes. If you're out in the ocean and let's say you have a fuel ladder separator that needs to be changed out, it's going to be super easy to do it. We've got one fuel ladder separator per engine. But one of the things I like to point out is, first of all, there's non-skid steps built into different parts of the bilge so that if I need to step down in here, I'm not going to slip as easily. And also how clean the rigging is. It just goes on and on. Everything is labeled. I know, for instance, that this is my fish box drain. They're using oversized brass fittings for their through hulls. Notice how the clamps are double clamped and offset 180 degrees with very handy rubber clips over top the end to keep you from scratching or cutting your hand on the end of these sharp stainless clamps. I love that the fuel lines are labeled. So I've got red for port, green for starboard, yellow for center. And they do that throughout. Super handy. The generator has a splash and drip shroud just for safety, and I think that's really smart. Hey, check this out. I love that all of the raw water intakes have a single stainless steel manifold with a single main seacock, and then air conditioner pickup, Seakeeper intake, live wells, and raw water washdown. Another neat feature is for boats that are equipped with a second station or a cobia tower, we've got really easy access to the top of the hardtop right here through this hatch. with the ladder. Hey, it's hot outside, come on in. So the cabin is very comfortable, and one of the main features is that there's a bed large enough for two, or I should say a berth. There's actually a filler panel here with a cushion, and that same filler panel makes into a table, so you can actually dine down here. You've got air condition, we've got television, a separate speaker zone for the stereo, and super important for a lot of our customers is a separate wet head. What we mean by wet head is that the entire compartment is designed to be wet. And so we have a rainmaker shower. When we close the door, this whole compartment will get wet. It does drain. There's a sump drain. Got a really nice bowl type sink with beautiful fixtures, storage underneath, and there's even a platform to sit on over top of the toilet, which is a nice teak panel. It's just clips away if you want to leave it in the up position. Overboard discharge with the holding tank. And then easy access to some of our electronics for the back side of the dash. And I always like to show this because everything is so neatly wired. You'll notice that there's little orange pieces of sealant on all of the connections, and this is a QA mark, so the QA inspector will come in and check all the torque. Each inspector has their own color code for the sealant, and you'll notice that on all of the electrical connections. Super clean wiring. And back here behind the watertight mirror is going to be the brain center for the digital switching with all of our main breakers, but more importantly, all of the connections for the digital switching control system. And on this side, there's a cheat sheet for every wire that's labeled. Very handy for troubleshooting. In this cabinet, I've got storage on the top for manuals and knickknacks, and then this is all of our 120 volt power systems, so I can switch from generator to shore power here. I have a inlet power monitoring system for the 120 volt system. This is now showing that I've got 123 volts on each leg, and which leg is consuming how many amps. And I can individually turn on each appliance, whether it be the microwave, the cockpit grill, battery chargers, etc. We've got our battery charger monitoring panel here, our generator control panel here, the bilge blower for the generator here, and the stereo is mounted inside of this cabinet because we control it remotely from the Garmins. The batteries are housed underneath the berth seating, so it's very, very convenient to service the batteries. You'll notice we still have these indexes, what I call indexes, with the sealant where each battery connection was quality controlled. Every connection is labeled, so I know which battery goes to what. Over here, the battery isolator switches are controlled remotely at the dash, but if for some reason there's a problem with the switches on the dash, I can manually turn the batteries on and off by just pressing that button, and I can turn them off by rotating the knob. Very handy. We've also got all of our main breakers here, so if, say for instance, I don't want to have the windlass activated for child safety, I can leave that breaker off or turn it back on. And we've also got access to more fuses. Very convenient. The Everglades 395 can be powered with triple Yamaha 450s or twin Mercury 600s. This boat's equipped with the triple 450 Yamahas. These are V8, 5.6 liter, and they do feature built-in integrated electronic steering, no more hydraulics. The motors are super fuel efficient and very powerful. The exterior of the boat is an Emron paint. This one has the metallic finish. It's absolutely beautiful. It offers kind of a mirror finish, very durable. The number one competitive advantage of Everglades is the Ramcap construction process. There's information online about Ramcap, but what it means to you is that the hull itself is, number one, unsinkable. It's extremely stiff, and a stiffer hull translates into better ride quality, better wave handling characteristics, and less wear and tear on your body. So you can spend more time on the water in an Everglades than, say, a regular stringer-built boat. To learn more about this boat and all of our boats, give us a call, find us online. My name is Paul. We love to see you boat.